Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Vintage Motocross Q&A. I'm your host, Joe Abadi. We have a great show lined up for you tonight. Before we begin, I want to thank Jordan Woodworth out in Oakland, of course, Chelsea and Susie for all their support all week for us to bring a show together for you here tonight. Let's get down to the starting line. I'll tell you more about what's going to happen on the show. The starting line is, of course, brought to you by Vmxq. Keep the ride going. We'll tell you more about a Vmxq product a little bit later on in the show. In the Next Time Try This segment, we're going to be giving you a little tip on how to get quality restoration, paint work, real nice detail stuff on some of the bikes you may be working on. In the Moto Showcase, one of only 65 RH67s ever imported into America, of 150 ever built. We're going to take a look at this beautiful bike that was sent to us by Tony Mosley a little bit later in the show. Here's the problem. We've got some great questions this week. We're going to be addressing a few things, one pertaining to how to get graphics to stick on plastic, another one about some restoration questions. In the What's It Worth segment, a real nice 1977 Suzuki RM 250 that recently sold on eBay. You're going to be surprised between the quality of this bike and the price that it was sold for. Product Spotlight, Preston Petty, still coming through every week with a great special. Thank you, Preston, and Paul Stainard. We'll have a special for you a little bit later on. I'll tell you about that. Oh, and in the announcements too. A lot of good announcements tonight. One coming up is, of course, Supercross returns this Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have the radio show. We'll tell you about what's happening as far as times go and who's going to be on the radio show this weekend. If you have a moment, please use it to share the show. Tell some of your friends about it. Hit that share button. Get them to come over and join us. We always like to have some new faces joining us every week. They can, of course, give a like, share. Just come on, join the fun. YouTube. We still got the YouTube channel going. You can watch all the shows we've ever made here at Vintage Motocross Q&A. You could watch them in HD on YouTube after the show tonight. Go over there. You can subscribe, and you can watch all of our episodes on the big screen in the comfort of your living room. That's on YouTube. So go subscribe. As always, I want to thank all of our sponsors, Preston Petty Products, Amsoil, FastGuyStuff.com, Vmxq, and of course, Metro Racing. Thank you all for sticking with us. In our segment tonight of Next Time Try This, I'm going to show you how to get this Bultaco cover to look exactly the way it did from the factory. Now, from the factory, these Bultaco letters, they're nice and polished, they're shiny just the way you see them right here. But behind them, where it's indented a little bit, that area was black. I'm going to show you with some simple tools that you probably have at home, nothing more than some masking tape, a very pointy pen, and an X-Acto knife. Make sure you got a new blade. If you have those four things, maybe a little masking paper, I'm going to show you how you can get the results the way they came from the factory. There's several different ways how people do this, but I'm going to show you the one that's easiest for you to do. You'll be able to do it at home. The first thing I did here was made sure I had tape wide enough to cover the lettering where it says Bultaco. I gently placed it over all the letters from left to right. Now, I used a pen here so you could see it clearer on camera. What you should really be using is a very, very sharp pencil, so you can get right in there on the outline of each letter, and that pencil may even start to cut a little bit into that tape as you're going around. It'll look like that. You'll be able to see it clearer when it's in front of you. You get your X-Acto knife, make sure you have a nice sharp blade in there, and then you follow the lines that you made with your pencil. You don't want to press too hard to cut through the tape, and you won't have to because the pencil mark will already be there. If you do press a little bit hard and you put a little scratch next to the letter, it's nothing to be too alarmed about. You're going to be putting a coat of prime over that and a coat of paint. You'll never see it when it's done. After I got through cutting out all the letters, I removed the excess, as you can see here in the video. And what I had was some letters nicely taped off that are going to remain shiny after we begin to paint it. I followed up with some masking tape on the edges. And again, I followed the indentation around the logo with that pen. Then I followed up by cutting it out with my X-Acto knife. I followed up with some masking paper. I made sure that the Kickstarter area was well protected because you don't want any overspray getting in under your tape or under your masking paper when you go to spray it after you're done masking it. And as you can see here, I just folded everything up nice and neat underneath, and it's ready to go, ready to be primed and painted. Now, it'll look like this when you're done. This is another Bultaco ignition cover that I did a little while back. As you could see, if you take your time, and it probably will take you a couple of hours by the time you get done with the tape and cutting everything out. If you take your time, you'll have a beautiful finish just like that. When the paint dries really, really well, you can go over everything again, remove any glue or anything you might have with a little compound. You can bring up a shine in any areas that may have gotten a little scuff on it while you were working on it. Now, Jordan, leave that up there for a minute or go back to the full screen because I want to explain to the people at home something else you can do. With that cover, just the way you see it right here, you can also mask it off around the edges the same way I did and paint the entire thing in the center. Paint it. You can paint the letters too. What you can do after that is you can get a sanding block like this, okay? And then you can cover the edge with some wet or dry sandpaper, and you can go back and forth with it wet with like 1000 grit paper and go back and forth gently and sand away the paint that's there. What I explained to you here can be done also, well, can be done on any bike that has raised lettering on it. Could be an OSA, could be a Honda, it could be anything. It can be done a couple of different ways. If you're more comfortable with the masking and cutting it out nice and even like that, that's a great way to do it. If you're not, and you just want to do it with some with a sanding block and some 1000 grit wet or dry paper and gently go back and forth over those letters, you can do it that way too. I hope you enjoyed that segment. Jordan, great job on the editing on there. Everything looked really good. What's up next, Jordan? On the Moto Showcase, we've got a 1968 RH67 that was sent in by Tony Mosley. This is a bike that he restored, and it has a little bit of a history to it. Tony knew where the bike was for quite some time. So as Jordan moves through these slides, I'm going to read to you a little bit about what Tony Mosley had to say about this bike. In the early 70s, I was living in West Texas in the town of Lubbock, and I became friendly with a local motorcycle shop owner. The original Suzuki dealer, Virgil Dees, had acquired a TM250, serial number 10100, directly from Suzuki, and displayed it in his showroom for a limited amount of time. Some people raced it in short track and had a rattle can restoration. I moved back to my hometown of Fort Worth, and the bike was completely out of my mind until decades later when Virgil decided to sell it to one of the old timers from town. Happened to be a good friend of mine who had the foresight to purchase it. When I retired from Kawasaki and I built my man cave shop museum, my friend asked me to keep the bike there and display it for some of the vintage races here in Texas. Shortly thereafter, I was asked to serve on the board of directors at the AMA, where I had become acquainted with Tom White of the White Brothers. We had several discussions about this bike, and Tom assured me that it was very rare and very special indeed, with only 65 or so being imported into the US and only 150 ever being produced worldwide. After the sale of the TM250 and at the 2018 Mecum Auto Auction, after the sale of a TM250, another RH, at the 2018 Mecum Bike Auction in Las Vegas, the owner decided to have me restore this bike for him. During the 18-month process, I had the paint match from the original unfaded color. It's a 3-step candy blue from the underside of the seat. I had that done. I purchased reproduction grips from Chris Carter. I sourced NOS, NOS, Yokohama tires. All the bolts have the Suzuki S on it. Everything that was supposed to be plated was replated properly. The engine components, such as the carburetor, the levers, all the aluminum items were vapor blasted. There's two things that Tony says are not correct about the bike, and he is in search for them. One is the Kickstarter lever, and I think that's really about it. It's the Kickstarter lever that seems to be missing. Oh, and the front number plate bracket. And Chris Carter is possibly reproducing those for Tony, so he'll have a real nice complete bike when he's all finished. Haggerty Specialty Car Insurance Company has researched this bike and agreed that it should be insured for a value of between $37,000 and $42,500. One of 65 that made it to the US, only 150 ever made. Tony Mosley, I want to thank you for sending in this beautiful bike to us this week for the Moto Showcase. In turn, get me your address. I'll get you some nice stickers from fastguystuff.com. That seems like not a real great price for such a really great bike. But hey, that's all I have right now, Tony. Again, thank you for sending us the RH67. I'm sure everyone enjoyed it. Tony Mosley, everybody. You know what I forgot to mention earlier when I said share the show? What I meant to tell you was that we're giving away this AMSOIL hat and this shirt. So when you share the show, at the end of the broadcast tonight, toward the end, like we do every week, Sue will pick a random winner, and we will get you a AMSOIL hat and this shirt. This shirt is, of course, compliments of AMSOIL, the first in synthetic oil since 1973. But last week, Kevin Bridges was the winner and said to me, Joe, I want to play it forward, keep the shirt, and you can give it away next week on the show. I think that's best because this shirt is a size large, and it would be a little snug on Kevin Bridges and his Hulk-like stature. Kevin, I love you. Thank you for giving up the shirt again. We'll give it to somebody else this week. Share the show. Sue will pick out a random winner a little bit later on. Somebody's going to win a hat and a shirt. Compliments of AMSOIL. Now we can get back to, here's the problem. Jordan, what is the problem? Jorge Combs, I found several sets of NOS graphics for my bike, but the glue is failing around the edges. What would you recommend? Jorge, I know exactly what you're talking about. And when you find old graphics that say that, let's say, cover a whole shroud on a bike, what happens is over time, it almost seems like, they don't shrink, but right around the edges where it first begins for the glue to let go, it dries out and then it works its way down a bit. When you go to put them on your bike, I've never seen it to where the center or 90% of the graphic itself comes off. But what happens is it gets loose around the edge. And once it gets loose around the edge and you're using the bike, dust gets underneath there, water gets underneath there, and it works its way back and you lose a nice NOS graphic that you may have purchased. Here's what I'm going to recommend. This is weather strip cement right here. This will stick to metal, to plastic, it's really made for weather strip on a car. So it'll stick to steel, but it'll stick to plastic too. What you want to do is when you cut this tube open, use a very, very thin bead around the very edge of your graphic for your bike. A very thin, like a string, like a piece of string. You're going to peel off the center, you're going to have your glue. When you put it on your bike, you got to be careful now because you only get one shot with this, so make sure everything's lined up from the beginning. You want to run your thumb around that edge. If that sealant should come out a little bit along the edge, that's okay. You take a little brake clean, spray it on a towel or something soft, and just wipe it away. If you're doing this on something painted, you need to be careful. Use something that's maybe a little less toxic, but on a plastic piece, you'll be okay. And you work your thumbs around that edge and get that little bead to push right out. When this sealant dries, I can assure you, because I've used it, when this sealant dries, that graphic is never coming off that shroud, never coming off that plastic gas tank, or maybe anything on the side of your bike that you may have put on. That's where the problem lies. The glue dries out along the edge. There's no way to keep it on the bike. You put it on, it peels away, then it works its way down. With that sealant, you're going to put that graphic on your bike. You're never getting it off until you really, really want to take it off. Or, hey, thanks for the question. Jerry Frederick, I recently sold a bike I described as rebuilt from the ground up. After taking delivery, the buyer was upset and claimed he thought he was getting a restored bike. What's the best way to convey the condition of a bike that you're selling? The best way, because people don't read, the best way is through pictures. Jordan, bring up those pictures. You want to get nice, tight pictures like this. Here's a case where this bike has been rebuilt. The top end was off. Yes, we painted the cylinder. We worked the edges of the fins with some sandpaper and polished it. It looks really nice. But if you look at other parts on the bike, you can tell the bike wasn't restored. It was rebuilt. You need to make it clear to people that your bike was rebuilt and not restored. I don't know why a person would think it was restored, although I didn't see pictures of your bike, Jerry. I'll take your word for it. I know you're a trustworthy guy. I don't know why someone would think that the bike was restored. The big problem they have, and we're going to get into this, I think, in a question or so down the road, is they don't even know the definition of restored. But suddenly they know when something isn't restored. Get close pictures, give a good clean description of it, a very accurate description, and if you have to, get on the phone with the guy and tell him exactly where things are and how they should be. Mike Sheets. I see bikes for sale with sellers claiming the bike is restored. Here we go again. The bike is restored when obviously they have incorrect or modern parts or aftermarket parts on them. How does this affect the value of the bike? Well, it affects the value of the bike, but to me, it affects the integrity of the seller. I mean, he's saying the bike is restored. Again, is he even familiar with the definition of the word restored? There's so many different things that you can look at on a bike, and a bike may look really beautiful, just like this 74 KX 125 right here. Now, here's a bike that has KX 250 forks, gold aftermarket sun rims. It had Works Performance shocks, a Circle F pipe. Yes, the bike was painted. Yes, it had new seat cover, and it had Nightmare plastic and all new cables. Everything was painted. It looked nice. But is it restored? No, it's not restored. How do I know? I did the job on that bike like 17 years ago. It's not restored. It's a rebuilt racer. The hardware was never really done. It wasn't supposed to be done. It was supposed to be a race bike. But somebody may come along and say to someone, well, the bike is restored. No, it isn't. Next picture, Jordan, because I get pissed in these situations. That's a restored KX 125. Okay? New graphics, new paint, perfect paint. All the hardware's been done. NOS shocks, correct pipe. Everything about the bike was perfect, including the bars down to the NOS grips. That's restored. The last bike isn't restored. When people put bikes up for sale and call them restored, half the time they don't even know what they're talking about. I don't know why they like to say the word restored. Maybe it gives them a warm, fuzzy feeling inside. Maybe they feel great in front of their wife, in front of their mother. I don't know. But they should go to Webster's Dictionary, look up the word restored. It's going to say something like, when it's returned to as it came originally when it was made. A work of art, a house, a motor vehicle, a motorcycle. They need to stay away from the word restored completely, unless something truly is restored. I'm not saying that a bike that has been gone through completely and the guy couldn't find, say, the right Kickstarter, like Tony Mosley, or maybe the correct tires. I'm not saying that the bike's not restored. But when it's missing the majority of stuff and a lot of it's replaced with modern stuff, it's not restored. Somebody's going to have to go through the whole thing again. The biggest mistake they make, is when they don't do the hardware. The whole bike's got to come apart. Mike Sheets, thanks for the question. I get a little elevated when it comes to the word restoration and what people are selling and what they consider it to be restored. What's it worth? This is one of the best deals I've seen on eBay in quite some time. A 1977 Suzuki RM250B that sold for just $2,326. It was in Arizona. It just happened. The bike was just sold. It was just sold. And I'm going to read a little bit about this while Jordan shows you a few pictures. It had undergone a complete reboot from the motor, the frame, and the suspension and the wheels. The frame was blasted. It was repainted. Installed new taper bearings, and the foot pegs are new. The motor was torn down, inspected. The front forks were rebuilt, new oil seals. I installed powder-coated aluminum swing arm from a C2, which is a nice touch. That's an aluminum arm. It's got needle bearings in it, a new chain guide. Also included are a pair of new Pro Taper bars, levers, cables, grips, air filter, new IRC knobbies, fresh plastics, and a new fuel tap. I also installed my original gas tank on the bike, which is unrestored, he claims here. It's really, really in nice shape, and it is. It's got a nice little wear to it, and it looks real great on this bike. Says the bike might need some minor adjustments, but it was started. Everything works as it should, and it sold for just $2,326. The wheels alone on that bike, between the hoops, the spokes, the nipples, the tires, rim locks, and everything else, there's got to be like $800 worth of wheels on that bike. And the motor is rebuilt too. $2,326 was a steal. A steal. Now, I don't know if these deals are just out there because of this COVID-19 thing, or maybe they're just, just out there because, there it is. Great deal, 77 Suzuki RM250B. In the product spotlight, of course, we have Preston Petty products. I want to thank Paul Stan and Preston Petty for making us an authorized dealer. But as always, you can go right to the Preston Petty website and you can order whatever you want right there from their site. Now, when we talk about the special here on the show, there's something I want to explain to you. When you get to their website or on your phone, there's a little red tab. It says Vmxq&A special. When you click on that tab, it's going to take you to this week's special. It's going to show you the discount. When you shop for that item, just shop for that item. That's the only one you're getting the discount on. You can't go around and buy a bunch of different stuff, then go to checkout and get the discount. So go to the red tab, VMX special, Vmxq&A, it says. Go there, get the special, check out, then you can go and shop for more stuff at Preston Petty. What's the special this week, Jordan? VMX headlight, the integrated headlight and the number plate. This is for the regular headlight, not the LED. Only blue and yellow are on special this week. You could save $10. They're regularly $85.95. This week, for people watching the show, $75.95. Inbox me. I will send you the code. When you get the code, you put the discount code in when you check out. Get $10 off blue and yellow VMX headlight number plates this week. Thanks, Preston Petty. Hope you're doing well. Vmxq. I can't say enough good things about Vmxq. When they got started, or we got started with them about 6 or 8 months ago, maybe a little longer, they had about 600 items in their catalog. They now have over 800 items. And this one is really, really cool for the OSA Pioneer, 1970 to 1972. It's the rear brake cable, and it's on special right now for $79.95. If you look at this cable, you see there's a little connection on there because the Pioneer is, of course, an enduro, an on-road, off-road bike. It's got the connection on there so you can hook up for your brake light too. I want to thank Kurt Lieberton and Jay over at Vmxq for sending us some great products every week. Go check out their catalog after the show tonight. Right now, we're going to take a look at a Vmxq commercial, and we'll be back in just a minute.
Classic and vintage dirt bikes are more than a hobby. It's not just about the ride. It's about the work that goes in. The work that keeps you connected to the ride. It's about bringing the bike back to life and doing it with your own hands. It's about the adrenaline and adventure. And when it comes to putting all the pieces together, only Vmxq knows the bikes and parts the way you do. Vmxq. Keep the ride going.
Vmxq. Keep the ride going. We have a winner of who shared the show the most, and the winner is, of course, going to get this great shirt and hat, compliments of AMSOIL. And my beautiful bride, the lovely and enchanting Susie, has just brought in this little piece of paper to me, and it says that Mark Brown is the winner. Mark Brown, thank you so much for all your support on the show. I know you shared it a lot tonight. Susie informed me of that, but you're also a big supporter of the show throughout the week, sharing it on different pages and putting in your comments and things like that. So Mark Brown, send me your address. Let's make sure everything is nice and clear on that. And I'm going to get you out this hat and this shirt, compliments of AMSOIL. Thank you, Mark Brown. Okay, got some good announcements for you tonight. Something I'm really, really excited about. Number one, the VMX radio show is going really well. And generally it happens every Sunday at 4 o'clock. However, this week it's going to be at 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And my guest is going to be Terry Good. We'll be discussing his upcoming opening of the International Motocross Museum, as well as those amazing bikes that he has collected over the years. But remember, the show this Sunday for Vintage Motocross Radio will be on at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So we don't conflict with the upcoming Supercross, which is on at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 12 o'clock Pacific. So you'll have Vintage Motocross Radio, 1 hour with me and Terry Good, having an interesting conversation, I'm sure. Right after that, you could jump right into Supercross. Right after that, you could jump into Supercross. Terry Good, I want to thank you in advance for being my guest this week. And there it is. There's the update, Salt Lake City. The remaining 7 rounds, the first one coming up on the 31st this Sunday. I'm really, really looking forward to that. Vintage Motocross Q&A shirts are still available. They are available from Metro Racing. They come in small, medium, large, extra large. You can see the price right there, $46 for long sleeve. If you want short sleeve, it's a couple of bucks less. They come in black and white. You can contact me or go to Metro Racing and you can order one right from there. Thanks, Peg and Don Miller, for your support. Marty Smith decal set. I got mine this week. Looks just like this. Really cool. I want to thank my longtime friend, Rich Vasallo, Rich Dombey, and Walt Hackensmith for giving up some great artwork to put on there. They're 20 bucks. It's a great commemorative thing. I'm going to frame mine. I'm not going to take mine off the sheet. I'm going to put a nice frame around it, hang it somewhere in my shop or somewhere in my house, but that's 20 bucks. Go visit, well, you don't have to visit anybody. My friend Rich Vasallo is at $18.99 USA, $18.99 at AOL.com. He takes Venmo, he takes PayPal. All the money, of course, goes to the Smith children. And I want to encourage everybody to go out there and get some of those Marty Smith commemorative sticker sheets while they last. Thanks, Rich Vasallo. Great job. FastGuyStuff.com still giving us stickers every week for all of our friends who send in bikes for the Moto Showcase segment. I want to thank Sean Bones. You can go over and visit his website. Not only does he have really cool stickers like we give away here on the show, we've got some really wonderful period correct items that would look great on your race bike or your showpiece. FastGuyStuff.com. Vintage Motocross Q&A sponsorship opportunities are still available. Please contact me through inbox. I'll get you a proposal. You can get on board with us. A lot of people are doing it. Vinco. Who else? We've got Vinco, Preston Petty, of course, Metro Racing, AMSOIL. They're all seeing the results every week. And, you know, I said something last week on the show, and I need to make a correction. Jordan, I don't know if you made a slide for it or not. Doesn't matter. I said that over 20,000 people are reached every week on this show. After it, not live, but after it runs about a week, I said there are 20,000. That is incorrect. The number is actually 40,000 people a month. So it's not 20,000 a week, but it is over 40,000 people a month are reached throughout people sharing it and coming back and watching the episodes either on Facebook or on YouTube. And it went up about 12% this month. So I want to thank you all for sharing it. Thank you all for watching it. But we're not seeing 20,000 a week, but we are seeing over 40,000 a month. I want to thank everybody for watching Vmxq&A tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show. As always, tune in to Vintage Motocross Radio this Sunday at a special time, 11 o'clock. My guest will be Terry Good. Thank you all for watching. Have a blessed week. Is Gino coming in to visit me tonight? Come on, Gene. Come on, boy.